I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Of the juggernaut, bitch!
It's not a tumor.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane!
Two chicks at the same time.
I am the law!
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win. You die.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah!
Good evening, nerds and nerdettes. It is Thursday, February 13th, and it's time for the Thursday night tradition, Geek Speak, here on Mega Powers Radio, where we gather and talk about all things went down in the nerd world this week. Very special episode this week. Why it's special, I'll tell you in just a moment. First off, let me introduce the cast of characters we got here. I'll be your lead host for this evening, station director here at Mega Powers Radio, Mike Paden. Joining me here, Craig Kellerman. What's shaking, Craig?
What's going on, guys? Happy Thursday. Happy Valentine's Day, too, for all you lovers out there.
We are the day before Valentine's Day here. Mr. Road Colors Reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, Travis Goss.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And, of course, we delayed it long enough. Let's introduce our special guest we have this evening. She goes by the gamer tag StarSlay3r. She's placed in the top 5 in over 30 gaming competitions all over the globe. She has a pending world record for the longest rock concert marathon at 4 days. She's appeared on television series such as The Ultimate Gamer, The Tester, and Robot Combat League. And tonight she's here on Geek Speak on Mega Powers Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Ciji Thornton. What's shaking, Ciji?
Hello, that was quite an epic introduction. Thank you very much.
It was a lot to study. You have quite a history, and it's awesome how you made that transition from pro gamer into the television world.
Yeah, it was pretty easy to do since the first 2 TV shows I did were actually related to gaming, so it was a pretty cool experience, though. I will say that.
All right, well, let's first learn a little bit about you. Why do you go by the gamer tag StarSlay3r? How'd you come up with that name?
Eventually, well, it was something that came along down the line. Originally, I wanted to be Starscream because I love Transformers and I love Starscream, despite a lot of people not really caring for him too much because of his attitude, but I love him. And just in case somehow I ever became known, I was like, I don't want to get sued. So a friend of mine and I just came up with different names that used Star, settled on StarSlay3r. And originally it had ER, but it turns out somebody in Germany actually already had StarSlay3r with an E, so a little bit of leet speak in there, and StarSlay3r was born.
Because it's cool to spell things weird with numbers and Z's.
Well, hey, but it works really well. That's actually one of the great things that I picked up from Fatality. If you type in Fatality with an I, you get all sorts of stuff. You type in Fatality with a 1, you get the world's #1 FPS gamer. So having that 3 in there really helps with Google search results. So that's like a little bit of a nerdy thing that helps with marketing.
Tremendous brand identity. Just want to let the listeners know, if at any point you want to join on, we're going to be opening the phone lines in about 10-15 minutes. You can dial in, get yourself in line, area code 760-512-7247. We have Miss Ciji Thornton on the line. You can ask your questions, talk to her live here on Mega Powers Radio. We also have the chat room running. If you scroll on down to the bottom of the page, you can drop questions in there as well, and we will ask them to Ciji Thornton here. So Ciji, let me ask you, at a young age, were you always competitive at gaming? Because from what I've learned about you, what I've seen, you are competitive to the core. You love to win. You hate to lose.
Exactly.
Did this always stem from when you were younger? I mean, were you that kid when you played Mortal Kombat even before junior high school? Were you throwing the controller if someone was blocking too much?
Not throwing the controller, because even back then I valued my equipment, but I did have a little bit of a temper. I've never liked to lose at anything. I've always had that kind of competitive mindset, but back in the day, it was more of playing for fun. So I played a lot more casual games, so there wasn't as many rage-inducing moments for me. It wasn't until I started to get, into high school, that's when I started playing Quake, and that's when I started dealing with hackers, and that's when I started to really get upset about things. So, yeah, the rage-inducing part came later in life.
Were you involved in any other type of competitive things as a kid? Kids usually get involved in some type of sports or any things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I did swimming, I did track and field, I did basketball, I did soccer and stuff like that. So I did do the sports thing for a while.
Perhaps the thing you are most known for is your accomplishments in the Guitar Hero world. Were you always into rhythm games? I mean, even when you were younger, once again, were you into things like Parappa the Rappa, or was Guitar Hero your first exploit into that?
Oh, no. Guitar Hero was not my very first. I was into rhythm games way before that. Actually, Guitar Freaks was the guitar game that got me into Guitar Hero eventually. But yeah, Parappa the Rapper, Dance Dance Revolution. I've played pretty much like Buster Groove and every rhythm game for the PlayStation ever since way before these games existed. So I've always been a big fan. I love music in general, so music plus video games was a big win for me.
Now, it doesn't seem like you got into any competitions for those. Tell us about the first time you went and entered into a competition.
Oh gosh, I first entered a tournament for Dance Dance Revolution, and I thought I was okay at the game. I could pass songs on expert and stuff like that. I could do 8-9 footers and stuff like that. But as soon as there was a very big Konami-sponsored tournament at Great Lakes Crossing in Michigan, that was when I saw the pros come out, and I was absolutely amazed at their talent. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm not ready to compete in this game right about now. This is just going to be a fun, casual game for me.
So when did you know that Guitar Hero was going to be the one that you really wanted to push yourself with?
I started competing in Guitar Hero, and it was the end of 2006. I entered the Midnight Gaming Championship in Texas, and they had weekly tournaments. It was like 8 or 9 weekly tournaments, and then whoever got enough points or won enough tournaments would go on to the state finals. And it was right around the time when I got enough points to go on to state finals. I was very lucky. I was like one of the very few like wild cards, meaning I got enough points to qualify versus actually like winning first place to qualify for that. And just like being around those people and, you know, seeing the amount of money that was won, seeing how like these people were treated like rock stars, like they were respected in the gaming world, which was kind of crazy. And just, you know, learning more about the game, just finding out there's a lot more to it than just hitting all the notes and activating star power whenever you want. I just wanted to learn more, and I wanted to get better, and I wanted to see how good I could get at the game. I definitely wanted to push myself more than I had with any other game before.
Do you play regular guitar too, or?
I can play regular guitar, but because of the fact that I'm still like learning a lot of stuff with real guitar, I always end up going back to my plastic guitar because I just can't rip and shred those solos like I can in Guitar Hero. You know, it's like I could play Dragon Force and I'm sitting here doing all these crazy solos, and then I get on my guitar and I'm like trying to keep track of just which fret my fingers are on. So it's a little disappointing.
Has Rocksmith helped at all with that?
It did help. That's one of the things I really liked about Rocksmith, but I also felt like I was just kind of memorizing the songs versus learning them, which is something that was kind of disappointing for me personally. I believe if I would have spent more time with it and actually went into like the different like mini games type things they have in there and like the chord tutorials and stuff, that I probably could have learned a little bit more. I might have kind of cut it down a little bit early, but I did like it. I did memorize some songs, and I had a lot of fun with it.
Well, one thing you've definitely learned is timing and muscle memory, so that certainly could translate to a musical instrument. Did you try any other musical instruments at any point? A piano or a flute, a violin?
Yeah, I've actually played piano for a long time, ever since I was about in middle school. So I've been able to play like electronic keyboard and stuff like that for a while. I haven't played lately, but yeah. So I do have other like musical skills, I guess.
We got a question from the chat room I actually want to bring in here. Will Blanton asks, is there a game that you wanted to have at a competitive scene that died before it really got a chance to get off the ground?
Ooh. I don't know. I think it would be fun to have like Buster Groove or competitions or something like. I'm just all for like rhythm games in general. I would have liked if Guitar Hero would have stuck around because I think that was great. It was a really great game to play casually with friends in like party mode, and then the tournaments were really great. They were really entertaining to watch, and there was a lot of money involved, so I would have loved for that to stick around.
We have another fan question from Sean Walker. He asks, do you prefer Guitar Hero or Rock Band?
I get asked that question all the time too. They're both really great games. I actually did a video, like a Q&A on my YouTube about this where I broke it down. It depends on which version, because it's like Rock Band 2 I absolutely love, but Guitar Hero 2 will always be my favorite. I thought that Rock Band Beatles was okay, you know, but Band Hero was an absolute piece of crap. So it varies. I like the mechanics of Rock Band. I like the way Highway licks in Rock Band. I like the way the notes look in Guitar Hero. So I like different things about each game.
So let me alter this question a little bit to also ask, do you like playing by yourself as just playing the guitar on the screen, or do you like playing with a group of people along with you?
That depends. Because if I'm playing with a group of people and they are very good at their instruments, then I am fine. But if we don't have no fail mode on and people are doing very poorly, I do kind of rage a little bit. I'm like, come on, I just want to play through this song all the way. So that's the only thing. But I don't mind playing by myself. I don't mind doing like 5v5 guitars and stuff like that, or 1v1 guitar on Guitar Hero and stuff like that.
I don't know if I should take this question seriously or not. We have Meow6 in the chat room asks, do you like cats?
I do like cats, but I'm more of a dog person. I have a dog.
Go ahead, Travis.
I was going to say cats are cool.
Oh, cats are great.
Dude, lolcats for days. I love lolcats.
It's the biggest time waster, absolutely. Do you have any favorite songs to play?
I would say Muse songs. I really love playing Muse songs. If I feel like killing myself, then Dragon Force songs.
Oh.
You know, those are good for like exercising my hand and realizing why I need to not play Guitar Hero so much.
Carpal tunnel.
Yes. I'm very lucky that I'm one of the few Guitar Hero players who has never encountered carpal tunnel. There's so many of them I've seen with like braces on their hands and stuff like that. I'm very, very lucky with that.
Yeah, I got it for playing it like a week. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh, I'm done.
Could you still listen to the tracks from Guitar Hero and Rock Band outside of those games, or after practicing for hours and hours on end, have they just kind of gotten burnt out to you?
It depends on the song. If it's more of like a poppy song, sometimes I don't really want to listen to it. If it's like Metallica and like more of the hardcore metal songs, I love listening to them. I have a CD that is just full of Guitar Hero 2 and 3 music, and I can't help but sit here and like move my fingers to the notes. You know, like in that South Park episode where he's like playing Jordan. They're like, oh yeah, I love this song. But yeah, it's kind of like that with me.
We have another fan question from Liam Dochery. He says, can you 5-star TTFAF? I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you do?
Yeah, it's Through the Fire and Flames. Yes, I can.
Okay.
There's actually, it hasn't been a single, like, on-disc song that I have not been able to 5-star. I've been able to 5-star pretty much every single DLC song. The only things I can't 5-star are things like the Impossible song, you know, like customs that people make.
Of all the Rock Band games and Guitar Hero games you've played, what's the one song that you absolutely have the most difficulty with?
Jordan. I would definitely say Jordan, just because the mechanics of that game and the note hit timing window, it's very, very strict. And then there's a section in there where it just looks like somebody just like puked out Guitar Hero notes all over the highway. It just doesn't really seem to make any sense when you're looking at it. It's very difficult to get through without star power. And it's one of those songs that I actually had nightmares about. Like nightmares trying to get past the section and just failing at it over and over again. It's pretty brutal song.
Is it worse than Through the Fire and the Flames?
I think so, because the thing about Through the Fire and Flames is the intro is a little bit tricky, but other than that, once you pass the intro, you can get through every solo with star power, like no problem. With Jordan, you really have to be accurate, otherwise you're going to fail that song.
Once again, everyone listening, we are live on Geek Speak on Mega Powers Radio with Ciji Thornton, a.k.a. StarSlay3r, professional gamer and reality television personality. If you have a question you would like to ask her, you can call in live at area code 760-512-7247. You can also dial in via Skype by pressing the little Skype icon on the broadcast page. We also have the chat room popping right now. If you have any questions in there you would like to ask her, you can go ahead and do that. Matter of fact, why don't we pull up one right here? Another one from Will Blanton. He says, what is your thoughts about pop and country music being in a game called Rock Band?
Yeah, I always thought that was a little bit funny, but I don't know. There's some pop songs I don't mind. I'm not a fan of country, but I don't know if you can really take the term rock band literally. When you know that's coming, you know that they want to make money, then they want to make it appeal to more people. So of course they're going to have a more wide arrangement of songs that they're going to include in it. But I think anything that is not actual rock music should be DLC, like 100%, or side discs, which usually they are. So it's okay.
You had brought up the South Park episode earlier, and I was actually curious, is there ever actually any like Guitar Hero drama similar to what you see in that, where like egos get over each other and people are like, I want to play this song. Well, I want to play this song.
Absolutely. There's a lot of drama that happened in the Guitar Hero world. Oftentimes when it comes to like tournaments and you're a team like that, you do get people who are fighting over what song to play because everybody wants to play what they're best at to have the best chance of scoring the highest, of course, because a lot of it revolves around having everybody at their maximum, like ×4 multiplier, plus overdrive or star power and stuff like that. But I mean, usually people are pretty chill when it comes to Rock Band and Guitar Hero competitively when compared to competitive communities like, let's say, fighting game community. It's a lot more chill. There's a lot less fighting. There's a lot less drama.
Oh, that I can imagine there's a lot less of that, what's the word I'm looking for? Rage inside people, a lot less violence. That
Yeah.
Another question that we got from the chat from Liam Dotrity. He says, have you ever thought about doing a YouTube series where you'll play against different players from all over the world, sort of like Challenge Me and it's single player challenges on these episodes?
Oh, that would be kind of cool. I wish I would have thought of something like that a while ago, back when I actually played Guitar Hero a lot. Nowadays, it's kind of hard because as somebody else in the chat pointed out, I have over 1,000 hours of Soul Force play, which tells you where my time has been spent lately, and it's mostly like digital trading card games and League of Legends. So if I were to do it now, I think some people would beat me on some ridiculously easy songs for the fact that I haven't played lately.
So what do you see as the next revolution for music and rhythm games? Or perhaps do you see maybe even a big retro resurgence of the old plastic guitar and drums?
I really hope that stuff like Guitar Hero makes a comeback. They were talking about it for a while. I know Activision had actually told me personally that they were thinking about coming out with Guitar Hero 2 again, but having it be all the different instruments, which would have been absolutely fantastic. It's my favorite Guitar Hero game of the series, and to be able to have those same songs with all the different instruments would have been great. But it seems like, I don't know what's going on with the rhythm game world because it's not dead. We keep getting new games like Child of Eden and stuff like that that's coming out that are taking it in a completely different direction, but nothing is competitive. And that's the really bummer part for me because I would love to see another competitive rhythm game.
Now, you've broken many boundaries for girls in the world of professional gaming. You were the first girl to represent Team USA in the 2009 Guitar Hero World Tour down in Guadalajara. How do you see the image and treatment of females in the gaming world has changed since before and after you came into it?
Well, I think back when I first started playing games kind of casually, what I noticed is that there was a lot of females, but they didn't really speak up that they were out there playing. And then as more girl gaming groups and stuff started to come up and more girls started to come out, that's when they were kind of shunned a little bit. They were like, this is a boys group, get out of the clubhouse, this is our area. But as more and more female professional gamers are doing really well, placing really high, they're earning respect, and they're kind of breaking those really bad stereotypes that are out there about female gamers, and it's helping a little bit. I don't know when it's going to not matter that somebody is a female and playing a game anymore. That's what I would love to see. I would just love for people to be like, oh, they're so-and-so and they're a great player. And not be like, oh, she's great for a girl or she's the best female. I'm just waiting for that day to come, and it's probably kind of far off, but things are definitely getting better.
It's because these dudes are afraid to lose to you.
That happens too. And it's really, I laugh about it when that stuff happens. I remember when I was in Seattle, I was in a Street Fighter tournament and I sat down and there was this guy there with his girlfriend and she goes, you better not lose. And she was joking, but he choked. He choked hardcore. The very first round, I almost perfected him because he just was totally mind fucked at the time. And it's I need you to settle down. I need you to breathe. I'm just another player. Stop worrying about your girlfriend being here and just play. And then we actually had a good, 2 out of 3 fight.
Who's your favorite Street Fighter?
I play as E Honda. So he's the big fat sumo man. I like him a lot. I would love to play as some other characters, but it takes a while to learn. With Street Fighter Cross Tekken, I love playing as Chun-Li and Rufus. I guess I got a thing for big fat guys and skinny cute girls, but I don't know.
So let's move on. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the other things that go on in your life. You hope to eventually give more back to the professional gaming world.
Yeah.
So you're not selfish in this endeavor at all. So what are some of the things you hope to do to continue even after you're able to continue competing as yourself?
Well, one thing that I really want to do is I wanted to come up with a management firm of some sort. I want to be able to help manage other players that are up and coming so that they're not taken advantage of by other companies, by other people. As I started to become more well-known, I had people who wanted to manage me and stuff like that, and they were like, oh yeah, we'll help you out. We just want like 50% of everything that you get, or they would want to take all of my competitive earnings and stuff like that. And it's really sad to see gamers get taken advantage of like that. And I see companies who offer to give gamers like, oh, here, we'll give you some of our glasses, and we'll give you some t-shirts, and we'll give you like all this swag for working for us instead of actually getting paid. And I just want to put a stop to that. I want gamers to actually be respected. I want them to be treated like adults, not like little kids that you can just give candy and say, good job, thanks a lot. Things like that. So that's one of the things I really want to do. And another thing is I try to help gamers in any way possible, even right now, before I have a business like that. If they approach me and they need help with the game, I help them. If they're like, hey, I'm trying to get my name out there, what should I do? I help them with marketing strategies. I help people come up with websites and Facebook pages and Twitter, and help them with social media and stuff like that. And that's something I've been doing, and that's something I definitely want to continue doing.
And I'm sorry if this is like just a fantasy scenario I'm trying to create here, but is there anyone who's ever been kind of like a Mr. Miyagi in the professional gaming circuit where like someone had to really train hard? It's like, oh, seek out this guy, and he takes you away and locks you and just like makes you go over and over learning these little lessons of how to be a better gamer. Does that exist in the professional gaming world, or is this something I'm just kind of making up in my head?
No, I bet you it does. I mean, one person I've seen kind of go through a change like that is actually a professional gamer who goes by the name of Sturmy. And he was actually given a chance to be on a team for a game that he didn't even really play. It was I believe it was FIFA. I'm not sure which one. But it was a soccer game. He's an FPS player. And they put him on this team for CGS, and they gave him a chance. And he just, so I'm reading the chat, it's funny. So he went away, and he trained super hard, and he came back to be one of the top players for FIFA. So anything can happen. It's all about you as a player. Like, you can do it if you put your mind to it, if you put the time into it, if you put the effort into it, if you get educated on the game, you learn everything you can. There's nothing stopping you. There's people who sit here and say that, oh, I want to go pro, but I'm not good enough. And it's like that mentality is why you won't be, because you're telling yourself that you're not good enough, so you won't be good enough. You have to put in the hard work and the dedication, and you can be. Because I wasn't great at Guitar Hero day one. It takes time to get to that level.
Yeah, jump on the sticks. It's the only way. Practice makes perfect.
It's easy to beat your friends, I find, but anytime I go and play anybody outside of my friends, it's like, oh, I am in a completely new element that I am not used to. Yeah. So I can't even imagine having to be prepared for the best in the world. From all different countries, all different places. Do you find that play styles differ from country to country? Like, are people from, not to like make any kind of stereotypes about it, but are people from certain places better at certain games?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, you'll hear, like, for StarCraft, people in Korea are better. In Japan, a lot of times, people are better at Street Fighter and some other fighting games. A lot of times it has to do with their gaming community and the way that they train. Like, in Korea, they actually have homes where StarCraft players will live together and train together, and that is their job. They get paid a salary. They do nothing but play StarCraft. They have other people that take care of their cleaning for clothes. They take care of their cooking, so they focus 100% on the game. A lot of times in the U.S., people can't afford to have something like that, and there's not really sponsors out here for gaming like there is over there. So it's hard to get the same kind of quality of players. They have to try a lot harder out here because they don't have the same privileges they do over there. So yeah, it definitely differs. I mean, for Guitar Hero, I didn't really notice as much of a difference. I noticed that players in Mexico were a lot more passionate about Guitar Hero. And mainly it seemed like that was because of the higher cost for their consoles and for their peripherals and for their games. So when they have to invest a lot more into it, they're a lot more passionate about it, and they practice a lot harder versus here when we pay $60 for a game. I think a lot of people here take that for granted because they just don't know.
I think a lot of people just dream about being able to play video games all day. And I also think if they actually found themselves in that point, they would get sick and tired of it real quick.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine, especially for you, where you're playing the same, not just video game, but the same song over and over again, how it must get satiated eventually.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there was a point in time where I was just really sick of Guitar Hero, and I get like that with games because I'm kind of like OCD about it, and I'm a perfectionist. I want to keep going over and over again till I get 100% on that song, and then I want to keep going over and over again till I'm at the top of the leaderboard. And you do kind of burn yourself out on it, but that's why you have to take a break every now and then. You have to go play another game, or you have to, just take a 5-minute break, walk around, and then come back to it. You kind of learn your limits, and you learn not to push yourself too far so that you don't start going backwards.
So we have a question from the chat room from Meow6. She says she has a League of Legends question. What is your favorite game mode?
I love ARAM. I know it's like casual, but I just love ARAM because everything's like so much faster, and it's like constant team fights, and I like learning new characters, and the fact that it's all random means I get to try out new characters and stuff like that. And that one time where I get that character I really, really, really love, I get to like totally dominate and carry the team. And that's like a really awesome feeling.
Now, after playing competitively professionally for so long, can you go back and play multiplayer games with friends casually, especially some of the more intense ones like Mario Party or Mario Kart?
I get frustrated if I lose to bowling to my friends. Like, it doesn't matter what the game is, but I take it a lot less seriously. I don't take it to heart, Like, if I lose in a Guitar Hero game, one time I lost by, like, nearly 200 points. And that hit me hard for about a week. I was upset about it. If I lose in Mario Kart, I'm mad for, like, 3 minutes, and then I'm like, let's go on Rainbow Road again, and I'll try to knock them out, It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal.
Mario Party ruins friendships.
That's what I hear. Luckily, I don't. Well, I do have a Wii, but I don't have those games. So.
Well, what is your favorite system, both current and retro?
Retro by far. I love the Nintendo. I love a lot of the old school Nintendo games. For next gen, I mean, I don't have the Xbox One, but if I did, that would probably be my favorite. Right now, I have Xbox 360, so I just mostly want Killer Instinct on the Xbox One.
We have a question from Sean Walker, and actually this transitions me to something I want to talk about. What was your first tattoo?
My first tattoo was actually nothing very big. It's the kanji for a dragon. I originally wanted to have an entire dragon going down my back, but I was 18, it was my first tattoo, and I was trying to get something that hopefully my parents wouldn't see. And so I got a little kanji for dragon, and I've gotten a lot since then.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your tattoos and your piercings? You certainly created a unique look for yourself, and I've read over the years you've wanted to shed that look because you didn't want to be known simply from it, but there's no hiding it, especially you have those, I don't know, are they dermals you have underneath your eye?
Yeah.
They're very signature.
Yeah.
They're very awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I used to do like 3 little gems under my eye, and then I kept losing them, and it got kind of expensive buying them all the time, and somebody had told me, they're like, you can get piercings like at this place in Texas for like $20 a piece. Like, ooh, and then I've had the piercings ever since. They're kind of permanent, so I can't really take them out. But I love tattoos. I have some gamer tattoos dedicated to Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts and Quake because that was my first PC game that I was really hardcore into. But other than that, I just and I have Mario and Bowser fighting. But I've got some band tattoos and stuff like that.
Tell me about your Final Fantasy tattoo. What's that?
I have a Tonberry. I love Tonberry.
Oh,
He's
cool.
such a badass. So it's Tonberry with his little knife holding his little lantern.
Mm-hmm.
Will Blanton from the chat room asks, so how did you really get those Mountain Dew flavored Cheetos? Because those do sound delicious.
What do you mean, how did I really get them? I got them from Japan. I ordered them online. It's no secret. Anybody could do it. They were not good, by the way. Don't. I know, it sounded delicious. I love Mountain Dew. I love Cheetos. I thought this is like the perfect thing. And I even ordered 2 of them because I was so thinking I was going to be in love with them. And then I was sorely disappointed. It just tastes kind of like lemon lime Fruit Loops. It was kind of weird, but fizzy. It was very strange.
So something people may not know about you. Once again, you're competitive in so many things. One thing you're also competitive is cars. So why don't you tell us a little about your experience with your show car and what have you done with that?
Oh gosh. I feel like I kind of made it look like less of a show car now that I painted it. But I have a 95 Honda Civic EX, and it used to be a show car. It had a really nice chameleon paint job on it. But the problem is, because it was a show car, and because the last people who owned it weren't really super big like car people, it was all for looks. It's kind of like when you see like the Need for Speed, like Fast and Furious type cars, you hear the stories about how they're amazing outside and they're just like torn apart like crap on the inside. And that's kind of like what this was. It was just like cosmetically it was pretty and that was it. So it's been a lot of like mechanical work and fixing it up to be good on the inside as well as the outside. I'm hoping to eventually get the car to be good enough to enter SEMA show. That's like my ultimate goal. I really wanted to do it this year, but a lot of things got in the way this summer. So I did get an offer to go to SEMA show, but I had to turn it down. So hopefully next year I can go, and hopefully next year I will be there with that Honda.
Once again, for all the listeners out there, we are live on Geek Speak on Mega Powers Radio with Ciji Thornton. You can join the conversation, submit your questions both on the phones, dial in area code 760-512-7247, and also in the chat room, we got it blazing down there. Let's talk a little bit about your TV career. First off, let's talk about your time on The Ultimate Gamer. How was it adjusting to living in a house full of people that you never met with cameras on constantly? What was that whole experience like?
I wish I could say I had never met some of them, because I actually did at the time. I knew, I think, like a few of the people from the house from before. So it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing to be like, oh, I know some people here.
So that the whole story with you and Dante, that was legit. That wasn't something just made for the television series.
Anything that came out of his mouth was usually made up. No, we started off as friends. We actually did work together. I was in quality assurance, and he was in the multiplayer side of the company. So we actually didn't work together. We were just kind of in the same building. We did become friends like very quickly. We found out we had both auditioned for the show, and then we got to talking. Actually, we were kind of talking a little bit before. We were talking about how we both had an audition to go to. We're like, oh, we're going to the same thing. Let's go together. And they really liked our chemistry together. And then we ended up getting into a big fight right before we both got picked to go on the show. And I would get a phone call. I'd walk outside and I'd take the call. I'd come back inside, sit back at my desk, and I'd see him run outside on the phone. And so I kind of had a feeling he was going to be on the show because we would get phone calls back to back. And I wasn't really looking forward to being in the house with him. I was like, smile, let's try to make it cool. But unfortunately, just the rage ended up building up. Because when you're in that situation, 12 gamers inside of a loft, which is basically 2 rooms. And when something goes wrong and you don't like somebody, you are stuck with them all day long. You can't get away. You either go in the game room or you go in the bedroom. And if somebody doesn't like somebody else, you better believe the producers, they're going to use that and make you guys fight. They like to send people into the other room, and they like to start rumors. Oh, that happened so many times. Like, I kind of laughed about it afterwards once I saw the editing put together, but they would tell him that I said something, even when I didn't, like, just to make him go off because he was kind of like, had short temper like that.
Well,
so
that's wretched.
It's reality TV though, and you know, honestly, after that happened, I learned a lot, and I applied those techniques that they used against us to use to my advantage in the future TV shows. I found out that for times when you think that they're not watching you, that they're listening to everything you say on the mics, and they're secretly recording you. And like for the tester, when I found this out, I would say things on purpose. And then I would go into that judging room where they're going to eliminate somebody, and I would hear the judges say word for word something that I said, and I would know that it's working, and things started to sway in my favor. And I learned to say things like, oh, I really don't want to go against that person, and they would put me against that person, you know, for Robot Combat League. So the shows are very fake. Like, a lot of people don't realize that. I try to tell people there's a lot of acting involved, even though we're not actors. Not everybody's in on it. There's some people on the shows where they just go on there and they're just themselves and they don't understand the drama. They don't understand why things are happening. But it's because the producers are coming up to certain people, asking them to say certain things, and they're instigating certain situations that some people never actually see.
Now, throughout your time on that show, you got to play in a band, you got to do a dance-off, you dunked off of a diving board, you did all types of fun things. What was your favorite challenge that you got to do?
I would say drifting. That was awesome. I love cars, I love racing, I love drifting. And to be able to drift in front of a drift champion and have him compliment me on my skills was pretty cool. And then, of course, I couldn't say that Rock Band wasn't one of my favorites, because being able to play on real guitar and then get complimented by them to say, you know, your guitar skills were great, you didn't miss a single note, that's also very awesome. Anytime I'm doing something like on a show like that that showcases my skill and then get complimented on it, of course, it's like a really great feeling.
Now, when it came down to the wire for you on Ultimate Gamer, your weak spot ended up being NBA Live. The person you end up having to face against was another person who they were building up a lot of drama with, Mark.
Yeah.
Did you know when he got the choice of who was going to be facing for you in your elimination round? They made this whole thing about who's he going to pick? It's going to be a big surprise. Did you know it was going to be him? Because the whole time I knew it was going to be him.
Exactly, and I knew too. I actually called it the day before they even announced what the game was. I had told everybody, because everybody was really worried who's going home next. We know it's a sports game. We don't know which game. I was like, it's only 2 games. It's either FIFA or it's NBA Live. And because I practice FIFA, I know it's going to be NBA Live. Also because of the fact that Mark is good at NBA Live 9, NBA Live, I knew it was going to be that. And as soon as they announced the game, I had one on camera, and I said this. I said, here's what's going to happen. Mark's going to get number 1. I'm going to get last. Mark's going to pit himself against me. I'm going to go home. Like, I said that word for word, and everybody in the house was still freaking out, even after he got first and I got last. Like, who's he going to put against her, blah, blah, blah. I was like, you guys are so stupid. Like, come on, he's going to put himself against me. Like, everybody saw this coming.
Since that competition, have you continued practicing NBA Live, and perhaps one day do you plan to track down Mark for a rematch?
Okay. First of all, screw that game. I have played it since then. But what a lot of people don't know is that Mark actually was playing Mr. Nicey Nice Guy, and before we had played to qualify and get our placements for that game, he had purposely taught me the wrong way to play the game. So he put me in last place. He taught me the exact opposite of how the game works. So it was all premeditated on his part, so that was going to happen no matter what. During the actual elimination at Samsung Stadium, I was doing so well, they actually thought that I might send Mark home, because one of my friends had actually told me about this kind of glitch in the game that makes so that some of the guys won't block your shot if you shoot it from a certain part. And I started doing that, and then I was like, I'm not going to be cheap like that, so I stopped it. But I think it would have been cool to actually eliminate him on the game that he put himself against me on, but I didn't want to be cheap about it.
What's that?
I know, it's like $100,000. Afterwards, I was really mad at myself. I was like, screw that. Nobody at home would have known what I was doing. Only people who know about that. And I could have been $100,000 richer, but it's things like that that kind of hurt me when I do these types of shows, because I still have that integrity where I can't just take the cheap way out. I can't, do something like that. I just can't. I couldn't live with myself if I did that. I guess I could live with $100,000, but so I don't know, moral things on my end. I'm weird, but I've seen Mark at other competitions, and he was at the WCG competition in Guadalajara. A lot of people thought we went together, but we didn't. We just all were on Team USA. So I played nice with him. We've talked. I'm not best friends with him, but I'm not gonna, run around trash talking him or anything like that.
And you're not gonna hold a grudge about it too, which is good.
Oh, I still hold a grudge.
Oh, you do?
It got me
$100,000.
Exactly. Oh, I got knocked off the show because of him. So.
Well, I have to tell you, that was an intense game I watched. I'm not a basketball fan by any means, but I was hooked throughout that whole thing because your comeback was so close. I was like, oh my gosh, she could do this.
Yeah, but it's like, either way, I think he would have got me, because that last shot he did from like half court.
Oh, yeah.
I can't deny that. That was some skill right there.
And he had that one alley-oop, too. He was sick. He was very good at that game.
Yeah, that was his game, and he was definitely not going to go home on that game. So,
once again, we are on with Ciji Thornton here on Geek Speak on Mega Powers Radio. If you'd like to dial in, ask Ciji a question, phone numbers, area code 760-512-7247. We also got the chat room bumping with people in there. Submit your question. We'll ask it to Ciji. I unfortunately didn't get to really check out the tester This was a Sony-only series, and I never really had access to the Sony network. I really only had a PS2. Is there anything really awesome about that you can tell us about? It seems like it was another reality show based on, rather than playing the games, you're going to be a tester. So are you doing more competitions trying to find bugs in the game?
No, because that would actually be the show.
Oh.
So the tester actually had nothing to do with testing other than the fact they were looking for a tester. I had, at the time, over 7 years experience with testing. So I applied to the show thinking, okay, like I have actual experience as a tester. When I met everybody else, I had never seen any of them before. I talked to them. None of them had any experience testing video games. I was like, wow, this is an easy win for me. And then I found out what the show was really about. And it was about running around in hamster balls and all sorts of silly stuff. We did some like freaking karate. Yeah, we did some awesome like little combos, and it had nothing to do with testing at all. I mean, at the very, very end, the people who made it to the very end, they actually played one level of a game, and it was just whoever could get through the level the fastest. That was it. It was not testing. So that was kind of a joke.
So it definitely sounds like whoever won is probably the right person for the job.
Of course, he actually did very well for working for Sony after he won. Cyrus was his name on the show, and he did some PR. They actually didn't make him stay a tester. He did more like promotional type of stuff, which it kind of upset me to see that, because when I had auditioned for the show, I was like, I'll come in here as a tester if that's my foot in the door, but I don't want to be a tester. As I get older, I want to do marketing work for you guys. And they're like, okay, that's cool. We're just looking for a tester right now, though. But, it kind of upset me to see that that's the route he ended up going. But, it is what it is. If I had known that that's what the show was about, I would have passed on it, and I would have just sent my resume to Sony.
Meow6 submits a tech question. What GPU do you have for your PC?
Oh, geez. I don't know the stats for my computer. I posted it somewhere online. I can... Okay,
so you're not that deep into it where you have all those memorized.
No. I'm not, I'm not a super PC person. I got this PC like a year ago. And I've always been kind of more console. Like, I started off as PC, and then I went to console, and I've been console for years. So
Texas Instruments.
Texas Instruments. Yo, those things were cool. TI-83, I had one of those. I had all sorts of little mini games on there.
So let's start talking about what has been my favorite show that I saw you on, Robot Combat League.
Yes.
My goodness, just the concept of this was so awesome. Taking the best parts of BattleBots and Robot Wars, and also Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and actually creating a real-life boxing robot scenario. When I first heard about this, I flipped out. And then to hear, even on top of that, it was being hosted by Chris Jericho, I'm like, this is the perfect show. What was it like the first time you got accepted on there and they brought you in and you saw your robot? What was the feelings you had when you saw this towering over you? It had the Gatling guns as fists.
I went nuts when I first saw what my robot was going to be. We were kind of introduced early on to some sparring robots, which you probably saw on the show. Mm-hmm. So at first I was kind of like, what is this? These things, that's not what I was thinking. I was a little disappointed. And then when I saw my bot come on, I was like, holy beep! I was like, this is so cool! And I had fallen in love with a couple of the other robots, but then it's like, this is my robot, I gave it a hug, and it was cute, it was cool. It's huge, and it's very, very intimidating looking. And then just touching the Gatling guns, I was like, dude, these things are fucking heavy. It's gonna really jack somebody up. So I was super excited. And even more so when I found out that Mark Citrakian, the guy who made all the bots, had actually changed our robot. Because I had seen, they had banners up in the background. I don't know if you guys ever saw them when the announcers were talking. Kind of like for normal fights, they have, a little banner up of each of the robots for the verses. And ours had previously looked kind of the same. Midsection-wise, his head was a little bit different. And then his arms had just, little balls with spikes all over them. So he had, two maces for hands. And then he changed them to giant guns, which is totally cool. I think that was, way better than the previous robot we had seen.
So I was actually going to ask, what was your favorite robot? I'm guessing you're going to say your own, but if it wasn't your own, which one you would pick? Because I got to say the one with an axe for a face is pretty cool.
I thought that was cool, but I didn't think that was the coolest robot. I actually fell in love with two of the robots. So Scorpio, or I don't remember what they ended up naming it. They changed the names of the robots like 6 times, but I think it was Scorpio. It had like all the different color lights and like sharp blades for hands, and it had carbon fiber body. I thought that was really cool looking, just the way the eyes lit up and everything. And then also Amanda Lucas's robot, I thought was really cool. It had kind of like a Gundam type feel to it. And I guess maybe just because the bots were black and they had different color lights, that was kind of like, ooh, pretty. But they were also very fragile. So
tell us about your partner, Vazul. I imagine when you have to control these robots, it's probably not as deep as like Pacific Rim where you have to complete memory link, but I imagine you have to build some type of connection. Were you fortunate enough to have an instant connection with your co-jockey on this?
I definitely was very lucky. He actually was a gamer too. So that helped a lot because he had experience with mech games, which had very similar controls to the controls that he had to use to control the lower part of the robot. And even though we got very little practice time, I would say like less than half an hour of actually like practicing on this robot. I know people think we had a lot more time than that, but we didn't. And we have very little time to work together, but we practice really good techniques of, okay, when you see my legs bend down like this and my arm come back, get ready to, make the robot do the same thing. Squat down, come up, or I'm going to uppercut. We had really good discussion before we went out there, what we want things to look like and how they're going to go. And then when we went out there, we were just able to do it. Like we were able to just, I don't know, it just worked. It happened. I mean, there was very little verbal communication, and we were still able to accomplish everything that we wanted to.
So what was the controller for you? Like, you had this apparatus that basically wrapped around your arms with bendable points at your elbows. What was that like compared to anything else that you worked with in video gaming?
I have never worked with anything like that in video gaming before. It was very weird because it's kind of like this backpack thing, and then these metal pieces that come out that are on my arms, and it's like completely different because I had to put myself in the mindset of kind of like a video game of like, okay, it doesn't matter what I'm trying to do, because if I try to punch like a normal person, my bot's going to be punching in the nuts, and that's not going to accomplish anything for me. So I have to look at my character down there, and I have to test things out and see when I punch up high, where does my robot punch? And I had to kind of like get accustomed to it very quickly. And I had to learn to adjust to the situation very quickly, which I think is very good that I was a gamer because I was able to do that. Because a lot of the people who had experience with fighting, like Amanda Lucas and stuff like that, they kept wanting, like the muscle memory in them kept taking them low. They kept trying to get in their regular fighting stance and blocking stance, which doesn't work with the robot.
How was the reaction time with it? Was there a lag between when you moved your arm and the robot moved, or was it pretty spot on?
It was very close. The lag was very minimal. That's one of the concerns I had, too.
In your first round, you mentioned her name a number of times. You fought against Amanda Lucas, professional MMA fighter, daughter of George Lucas. What was it like going up against her, one, as a fangirl, if you are one, of the Star Wars franchise, and two, as a competitor, knowing you're going in there against someone who's a professional fighter?
Well, for me, I actually feel like that fight between her happened because I had told the producers over and over again I wanted to fight her, whereas everybody else was too afraid to. For me, it wasn't about the fact of like who her dad was per se. I wanted to fight her because of her past history as an MMA fighter, basically being undefeated ever since her first fight. Her very, very first fight she lost, and she never lost one since then. She's like super well known as an MMA fighter, super vicious, and she was intimidating the hell out of everybody. But because of who her dad was, she did get a lot of extra practice time, and I felt like that kind of wasn't fair, and a lot of people were complaining about that. Like, that's not fair. She got all this practice time, and like we didn't really get to learn. And I wanted to show everybody that doesn't matter. Like, she can have all the practice time in the world, and I'll still take her out. So I was very happy when I got matched against her, and I was looking forward to the fight. But unfortunately, I found out that she was a very sore loser.
Oh, really?
Oh, she still
you dominated her.
I knocked her out in 40 seconds, and she still hates me to this day. Like, she will not talk to me. I tried to talk to her on Twitter. I tried to talk to her privately, and she refuses to talk to me. I've never seen anybody take a loss like that, especially on something like a TV show where it's like, okay, it's just in the show, like, no hard feelings in person. I've never had somebody take it so personal like that before.
You would think with martial arts and everything that they would be, like, conditioned to not be a sore loser.
Right. I mean, it's like when your job is to fight and you know that there's always this option where you could lose, like, you should be okay with that.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I wonder if she just felt because this isn't like MMA, if this is something where she might seem as lower, that she should have been carried on longer, because I remember she was a heavy part of the promotion going into the show. Yeah. And you're talking about how she had a longer time to practice. I could even see that when I was watching the first episode of the show. It seems like she had like 3 times as long, just because her dad walked in and was giving her like little pointers about what to do, and they wanted to get all that footage on camera.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. So as I said before, I'm a huge fan of Chris Jericho. I also run a wrestling show on the same radio station. So I have to ask, what was it like meeting and working with Chris Jericho?
Everybody asks me this, and don't hate me when I say this. I didn't know who he was until I met him on the show.
That's okay.
So sorry.
Yeah.
I know, I suck, right? No, but he was a very nice guy. We're actually not together with the host and stuff as much as people think. And they also, like on these TV shows, they kind of discourage the contestants from talking to the hosts and stuff like that, because they just don't want any sort of like favoritism going on and stuff like that. They try to like keep us separated for the most part. You know, we can talk, but only if there's producers around and, you know, making sure there's no shady stuff going around.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I did get to talk to him, he was very nice. He seemed like a really cool guy, but that's all I could say.
He, I could see him being very similar to you, where he's sort of a Renaissance man, where he's crossed over almost anything he does. He wants to be the very best at, and very often he ends up being that way. So you and him share a lot of parallels.
Yeah, I mean, he was nice, and it was good to talk to. I mean, there was some chit chats that happened, like especially during the fight and stuff like that, where he would, you know, help to keep us motivated and things like that. And I mean, you can tell he knows what he's doing, and he's a hardcore competitor himself.
So let me ask, what's in the future for Ciji Thornton? Do you plan to get into more on-screen roles? Are you looking to continue as a video game competitor, or are you looking to go into those post plans of coaching as you were speaking of before? What is the current status for what Ciji Thornton plans to do?
Man, I'm in this weird limbo right now. So I'm in the process of trying to work with somebody on creating a gamer camp of sorts. I don't want to get into a whole lot of details, but it would be a step in the direction that I want to go, and then some. It would be helping out tons of gamers, but it's very, very expensive. So we're in the process of getting money raised, trying to get sponsors and stuff like that, trying to figure out how we could pull something like this off and make it convenient for the gamers and make it most beneficial for them. So there's that. It's been in the works for probably about a year now.
You ever think about using a Kickstarter or something for it, or?
We might. It depends. It's just me and one other person right now, so it's very like small, like scale. It's like it's 2 people trying to do something very big, and I know Kickstarter is good for that. But Kickstarter, when you do something like that, you also end up having a percentage that goes to Kickstarter itself, so you lose a big chunk of the money, and then you have to also provide people with something. You know, you can't just be like, okay, here's thank you for your donation of $1,000. Like they expect something in return with Kickstarter, and we don't have anything to give people right now. So, I mean, maybe like an Indiegogo type thing or something, but because of what we're working on, it's not one of those things like we're working on a game and we'll give you a free copy of the game. Like we don't have something physical to give people if this goes through. It's more of like something that will benefit mass groups of people in the future. They have to be there for it.
Lunch with StarSlay3r.
Well, yeah, there's always that. Pay for your flight and I'll have lunch so you don't pay for your lunch. Totally. You want to order the steak, go ahead.
$2,000.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, okay, never doing that again. I'm now broke. Thanks a lot, guys.
So we're going to take a question here from the chat room. Israel Santishtaban. I'm sorry, that's a lot of letters. Do you have any advice for gamers who want to go pro but think they don't have what it takes?
Absolutely, I do. I actually wrote an article about this. I wrote it a while ago. I updated it a little bit. It's on my website. If you want to find it quickly, just type in StarSlay3r, so you want to go pro, into Google, and it will lead you right to part 1, part 2 of my article that is on my website. And in there, I go through everything, like all the things that you need to do to start getting into competitive gaming, to what you do after, like marketing managers, stuff like that. So I try to touch base on everything. This is a question I get asked all the time. So I do have something written about it. It's a lot easier.
Perfect. So that pretty much wraps up the main interview section I have here. We're still going to have CG on for a few more minutes here on Geek Speak. If you want to dial in, the phone number is 760-512-7247. Chat room is still open. So once again, if you have a question, we still got a few more minutes here. I want to transfer and just talk about some of the news that happened this week, because that's our usual MO here on Geek Speak. Not a lot went down, so we're going to do this really quick. All 3 stories here on Fast News. First thing I want to talk about, CG, you ever see The Room?
Have you ever seen what?
The Room?
The Room?
Yes. The movie The Room?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, there's this, it's pretty much a cult classic of being known as one of the worst movies of all time. It's sort of like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, okay.
It's basically gotten a following similar to that. Travis and Craig, you've seen The Room, correct?
I did not see The Room, but I
love The Room.
Me.
I know, and we have a clip on it in the beginning too. I know
we do in our intro. You're tearing me apart, Lisa. Yes,
killing you.
Well, James Franco has announced that he has picked up the script and he is going to be directing and starring in a movie about the making of the movie of The Room. This is going to be based on a book called The Disaster Artist, written by Greg Sestero, who starred as Mark in the original film. I think this is kind of neat. I mean, we're going to get to see a behind-the-scenes look at how one of the worst movies was made. I think we had a similar thing came out that was called Best Worst Movie for the movie Troll 2, which was more a look at the culture that went behind that. I think this is going to be a cool look at seeing how this thing came to fruition rather than how it began. Travis, since you're the only one who really knew about this, do you think James Franco is going to fill a good role for this?
Well, I think he can pull off, if he actually plays Tommy Wiseau, he's not going to have too much of a difficulty trying to impersonate whatever accent that's supposed to be.
We're going to pull a couple more questions out of the chat for CG. I feel bad she doesn't know much to say about this one.
No, okay.
CG, will you go on tour all over the USA with guest appearances someday?
Oh, I would love to. I mean, I kind of did that before. I went to tournaments and stuff like that and events. I mean, that would be totally cool, but, it's one of those things where I would have to be invited to do it. I'm not just going to be like, hey guys, I'm in Ohio, behold. If somebody's like, hey, come check out this convention, I'll try to stop by if I can.
Meow6 asked if we can meow for her or him.
Meow.
Meow.
Meow. That's a scary meow. What happened to that cat?
Meow. It's got a bird stuck in its throat.
It's out in the blizzard right now.
Oh, and speaking of birds, you're not going to be finding too many birds on the App Store because Flappy Bird has been pulled, a game that has become an absolute craze over the last couple of months. Really, though, it's been out since mid-2013, I think it was. The developer Dong Nguyen announced, sorry, I'm really bad pronouncing last names, announced this past week that he would be pulling the game Flappy Bird from all iOS and Android app stores within 24 hours of his announcement. After initial silence, he stated that he removed the game due to its addicting nature and people getting too much into it. He also stated that he doesn't enjoy all the attention that he's received. It's hard for him to live a private lifestyle with people constantly coming after him about it. How that counters getting about 50,000 a day in ad revenue, I don't know. Since taking it down, though, we've seen hundreds of clones taking its place, including Floppy Doge, Flippy Floppy Bird, every possible weird combination you can think of words with it. It's absolutely dominated the top 10 charts on the iOS App Store. So if you look at the top 10 games, it's all Flappy Bird clones. And I think the craziest thing that we've seen coming through this, devices with the game still loaded on it are selling on eBay for as much as $80,000. Absolutely ridiculous.
Whoa.
CG, you know a thing or two about getting really heavily into a game. Do you think Flappy Bird warrants this from people? And have you played it yourself? What are your opinions on it?
It's a horrible game. It was like I played it, I installed it, I played it, I uninstalled it. I installed it to show somebody how horrible the game is, and then I uninstalled it again. It's a very frustrating game that was very buggy. But yeah, wasn't really a fan. But as for, you said, how does the whole like popularity thing interfering with his private life, conquer the $50,000 a day in ad revenue? And it depends. I heard he was getting death threats from people and stuff like that.
Oh.
And the thing is, like, people, like, trolls, like, as you saw in the beginning of this episode, trolls, like, they don't give a fuck when they're anonymous. Like, they will say the meanest things. They will stalk you. They will, like your Facebook page just so that they know when you're doing a podcast so they can talk shit. The same thing for him. I'm sure they find out his personal information and were bothering him at his place of work or, his house or something like that. And it gets to a point to where you're like, $50,000 a day to deal with this may not be worth it,
I don't know about that.
Well, sometimes people can be really bad. Sometimes the trolls can be really bad. And certain people, they just, like, get into your life too much, and I don't know.
Yeah, some people like attention, some people just don't like attention. This guy, where are these death threats coming from? Is it because of the whole Mario thing? People are always claiming that this game is a ripoff of Mario based on its style and the pipes in it.
And Nintendo, a spokesperson for Nintendo said they do not care. Nintendo's got bigger things to worry about. Like, they're making mad money. Like, why do they care about this little Flappy Bird app?
Travis, anything you want to add to this?
I actually never played Flappy Bird, so I couldn't exactly give you my opinion of it, but that's actually kind of surprising that he pulled the plug on it just because it was addictive. I've never heard anything like that before in my life.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's more to the story than we're being told.
I think
the personal life thing is the bigger thing on it, and he didn't want, when you make the big headline, I don't want to be interrupted in my personal life, and that's just an invitation for people to interrupt you more in your personal life. So he had to come up with some other story. Let's go to our last one that we got here. This is the one I'm most excited to talk about. Crime-fighting superhero syndicate in Michigan splits up over irreconcilable differences. A group known as the Michigan Protectors have split after a disagreement between the group's leader, known as Bee Sting, and another member known as Petoskey Batman. Now, Batman initially worked alone, but after some trouble with a group of drunks, Bee Sting decided to invite Batman into the organization. Soon after, Bee Sting went to jail for 3 months, and the group decided that while he was in jail, they liked the leadership skills of Batman a lot better. This rivalry eventually escalated with personal attacks, fraud, and the misuse of charity money.
Oh.
Mark Williams, a.k.a. the Batman, told Detroit News, "I loved him as much as I love my own blood family. But now, he is an abusive, neglectful, thieving, boastful, cowardly crook. He belongs in jail, and I will see him there. I will scream from the rooftops until Bee Sting is shown for what he truly is."
Damn, we got some real life, like, comic book stuff going down in Michigan. I'm kind of bummed I wasn't there to see it. I mean, I lived in Seattle for a bit, and they had a superhero, and I was like, why doesn't Michigan have one? Apparently I missed this.
You think things are bad in the streets of Detroit now? We're looking at, like, some Arrow level type things. There's going to be gang wars all over the place.
There's a coup with the Justice League going on in Michigan.
I'm really surprised that they used actual, like, costumes, though, like Batman outfit. Like, come on, guys, be a little more creative.
Well, I wish we could have seen the costume of Beast. I wonder if it's just a matter of time. I think it's just a matter of time before we get the comic, too. Batman versus Bee Sting. People are going to be capitalizing on things like this.
Oh, Bee Sting is not a very... Yeah, he's got his own, like, little costume. It's just kind of like a little face mask with some shades.
Something his mom made him, probably. Put it together one day. Oh my goodness. All right, so we got one last bit of business we take care of before we round this show up, and that is to crown the clown of the week here on Geek Speak, where we talk about who has embarrassed themselves the most this week in the world. And this week is... Ladies and gentlemen, we have our two-time winner of the Clown of the Week. Once again, 2 weeks in a row, this award goes to Sochi, Russia. This is after the news that this year's Olympics has cost $50 billion, 4 times over the expected budget, and it is the most expensive Olympic Games of all time. And yet, despite that, it's a crap hole over there.
Yeah.
When you go to check in, they say your hotel room is not ready. It means it hasn't been built yet. That's the whole situation is over there.
Not only that, their water is like pea yellow.
Ooh.
Yeah. CJ, you've been following the events over there. Are you a sports fanatic at all outside of the games, and are you enjoying the Winter Games?
I have not watched it at all. The only thing I even paid any attention to was the whole mishap with the ring happening, because everybody was posting pictures about it, but that's all I know.
Well, that's not the only Sochi problem they've been having over there. I mean, it's just been absolutely miserable. You go to hotel rooms, there's wires dangling from the ceilings. The bathrooms don't have walls in between the toilets, so people are pooping right next to each other. As Craig said, the water is filled with all type of acids where it's dirty brown and yellow. It's just not a good environment over there.
Yeah, I hear there's cameras everywhere, too.
Well, that's one thing I got to give them credit for. At least they've been top-notch on their security.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cops at every single little event they've had going on there. So they've been keeping that tight. But unfortunately, if you are spending your week in Sochi, you're probably not enjoying yourself too much.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I did hear something about, when people were complaining about the condition in their hotel rooms, didn't, an official say something like, you guys are lying, we know, because we have cameras in your rooms, and, we see what your rooms look like?
Oh, I didn't hear anything about that. Is this a scandal? Are people just making all this up?
I don't know. That's one of the other things that I heard that I don't know if that's true or not. I was hoping one of you guys had heard about it. Okay.
No, this is all developing. I mean, Russia is a depressed country, so it's no surprise hearing stories like this coming out. The only thing that's not 100 solid is this number. They haven't gotten the final figures for what the cost of this Olympics was, but it's somewhere around there, and it's certainly not good news. I would not expect to see the Olympic Games going back to Russia anytime soon. All right, well, it's been a fun show tonight. We've had an awesome guest on with us, Miss Ciji Thornton, professional gamer and reality television series. We're going to be wrapping things up. Thanks, everyone who called in and joined in the chat room. We're going to be closing those off now. Ciji, you have any final words you want to put out there? Anything you want to plug, tell people to check out?
If you guys ever want to get a hold of me, just go to StarSlay3r.com, StarSlay3r.com, and feel free to hit me up on any of my social networks. I always message back when you message me. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, feel free to check me out. And other than that, thank you so much for the support. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I truly appreciate it. Oh,
thank you, Ciji. Craig, tell the world about what's good in the world of Craig.
Well, the world of Craig is definitely a good place to be. Especially right now with, of course, Fanboys Anonymous and, of course, Geek Speak on Thursday nights. And we got a new show Saturday nights, Sports Talk Weekly for you sports fans out there. And that's what's going on with me.
And lastly, Mr. Rose-Colored Reviews, Travis, tell us what's the next video we can expect from you.
Actually, the next video just came up earlier this afternoon. Just go to youtube.com/rosecoloredreviews, and I put up a video with my lovely fiancée, Courtney, of us eating edible bugs. Edible insects.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, stay tuned for that, folks. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into Geek Speak tonight. It was an absolutely tremendous show. Special thanks to Ciji Thornton for joining us. Awesome having a guest here on Geek Speak. Lots more to follow. Stay tuned to her website, as she said, StarSlay3r.com with a 3 as the last E in it. Thank you for all the awesome folks we had going on in the chat room. You kept it active, kept it extra fun. Everyone, if you enjoyed listening to Geek Speak, please join us every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Mega Powers Radio at megapowersradio.com. If you can't make it live, though, the show is easily available in archive form at fanboysanonymous.com, and you can also subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can easily get the show downloaded onto your mobile device. Also, while you're on there, please feel free to rate, review, and all that other good stuff on there to help us climb the charts and let people know that Geek Speak is awesome. Everyone, thank you so much once again. And once again, I'll say thank you to Ciji Thornton. I said it like 5 times now. I'm sounding like a brokered record. This has been Geek Speak live on Mega Powers Radio. For Craig Kellerman, for Travis Goss, I'm Mike Paden. Have a good night, everybody.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Of the juggernaut, bitch!
It's not a tumor.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane!
2 chicks at the same time.
I am the law!
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win. You die.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah!